never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bacon, I make plans for 7:45, then I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Good evening, one and all. Hopefully you guys all had a great weekend. So nice to see all of you. I am particularly excited because I do believe we have a faction of our CFN group that is currently out at Jan Lake Lodge for our first annual Western Retreat. Barry and Sally, Daryl Nelson, and Walter, of course. There was a lot of great videos, prelim, eve, on the eve of the Western Retreat that was shared on CFN, but it is just awesome to see all of our CFNers out at Jan Lake Lodge, and a big shout out to Jan Lake Lodge for hosting our first ever Western Retreat. And in case, you didn't get to see some of the stuff, I just want to share this. I put a little piece together. I think it's worth all of you having a look at what great minds and good people can do and put together when we all are on the same page. This is beautiful. Great little video. Have a look. Well, I hope you can have a look. The internet is hilarious.
Here we are, Jan Lake Lodge.
Walter Hook just popped in as well.
This is a beautiful, beautiful lake. Just trying to give you a little idea of what we see.
So the video is going to play. Obviously, the audio is way ahead of the actual video. And as you folks have probably seen, dealt with, and are continuing to deal with, is our Rogers situation. And I shared a contest that didn't even get posted simply because of the pathetic internet and Wi-Fi service. So listen, I apologize. We will play that again. I will feature that on CFN so you folks can have a look. But big shout out to everyone that is out at Jan Lake Lodge. And if you didn't make the Western Retreat and you do live in the province of Saskatchewan and you'd like to maybe go somewhere that perhaps you don't know anything about, and you can reach out to some CFNers to find out. I haven't heard a bad thing yet. I haven't even heard anything close to a bad thing yet. It is a beautiful place to go. The fishing is phenomenal. I don't know how many dozens of pike that Barry caught yesterday, but I heard it was like quite a few. And Barry loves his fishing, but he likes to relax as well. So for him to catch that many pike, attaboy, buddy. Attaboy. Will's in the house. Eve is here. Luke's here. Sally, yes. Jeanette, nice to see all of you. Greetings from Jan Lake. Absolutely, it's wondrous, as I say, Walter, that you've been able to put this together as you have, and we have some CFNers that are sharing a great time up at a great lodge. Also, a couple other things that I just need to talk to quickly because we do have an action-packed show, and there's lots that are going to be going on. Of course, we're going to be doing the draw for the bait fuel, and you guys there's a few of that guessed, not many, but believe it or not, we only have one winner. So that'll be easy to pass out, but we will get to that as well as the newer fish. So stay tuned to all that, and I will bring up Mike because he wants to make an announcement of what is going to be probably our wrap-up show for the CFN Fish Off 2022. Let's bring Mike in. What's up, Mike?
Scotty Martin, first off, thank you, Shimano. We gave loads of symmetry combos. First place, second place, third place, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and our Shimano, show your Shimano draw. So each of those teams got Shimano combos. So thank you, Shimano, for your support. As always, it was awesome.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we will be getting those prizes out to our CFNers real soon. I can't, all I can say is just be patient. Things take a little bit of time to get wrapped up and addressed and what have you, but we will get it out to you real soon. And as I said, for all those who are still with us, I know we are probably having some kind of technical difficulties in regards to our internet. Mike, I hope this thing gets up and running properly. I know a lot of folks switched over to Bell on the weekend after Friday's fiasco, but everything's A-okay. So you had a couple announcements you wanted to share with. Why don't you go ahead?
Yep. First off, I see Miss Erica Beeler there, who is a TV star. And the reason why she's a TV star is because season 3 of the CFN Fish Off is airing live on the Sportsman channel and WFN. I believe this week is episode 2. So if you don't know what time it's on, just go to Sportsman channel on the website or Google World Fishing Network, look up shows, and right there you'll see, with other prominent Canadian shows, you'll see the CFN Fish Off airs 7 times a week, 4 times on the Sportsman channel on 4 different days, 4 different times, and 3 times on WFN. So just Google it. Show times are there. Come watch it, and it's a fun show. It is a very fun show. Maybe next week I'll show a little clip of what has been airing on TV.
So we have some prizes that we're going to be giving away tomorrow, Mike. Did you want to discuss any of them? All right.
Yep. So we have our next gen CFN. That prize is happening tomorrow. And who is the amazing little lady who's joining us tomorrow, Scotty?
We have Ava and Rocky. They will be joining us. Ava has put together an incredible prize pack for our next gen CFNer. I went through all the videos on Facebook, and we have compiled them on the name wheel. And it is all ready to go. And of course, the prize pack, which we will be adding a few little trinkets here and there. But stay tuned. Tune in tomorrow at 7, and hopefully you are our winner.
So next gen CFN plus, we are giving away these jerseys. And if you haven't seen them before, Scotty, tell them whose signature that is right there.
I do believe it's the one and only Italo Lebignan from Canadian Sport Fishing. And we do have a few folks in our CFN community, Mike, that have a habit of donning this jersey. Our beloved Pat Pagano, who does the ICHA event, and also Pete Leduc, who wears it quite regularly as well. As you guys can tell, the internet is not where it should be right now. It's jumping all over the place. So we apologize for that. Hopefully you'll tune in later and have a look once the broadcast is all put together. Hopefully it won't be as jumpy. But as I said, if you are looking to own one of these, like Pete, like Pat, like Mike, tune in tomorrow.
Well, I don't own one. These two are going to a special team. And how you do that is every year we ask for your feedback because we want to make next year's CFN Fish Off even better. So we'll be emailing out, and it'll be coming not from Anglers Atlas because they set their own out, but we'll be emailing everyone who is registered and let us know. Maybe there's rules that you think need tweaking. Maybe there's something that you think should be addressed, or let us know the good stuff that we definitely have to keep for next year, because the reason why we've grown and the reason why we keep getting better every year is because the feedback from our community. So we definitely listen, and just by filling out the survey, It'll give your team a ballot to win not one of these, but both of these Italo jerseys, fishing jerseys. So thank you, David Sanderson, for arranging those. And check your email if you've registered. We would love your feedback.
Right on, Mike. Well, listen, I look forward to spending some time with you tomorrow, dude. As I said, right now, we will hopefully leave you there, hopefully leave you on the edge of your seat, and we're hoping that you'll tune in tomorrow.
One last thing, Scott, if you share my screen, because we have more apparel to give away, and the way you give away that, and I'll just be 30 seconds.
There you go. Okay.
If you go to anglersatlas.com/tournaments, we do have multi-species madness. Our first one is Ontario, and that starts next weekend. There is one that's happening right now for those of you that are watching in BC. We have multi-species madness saltwater edition, but we are giving away a CFN jersey for those of you that have ordered for the second batch. Finally, like it seems like the world have supply chain issues, but finally we can get them again. But this one, you can win for free, and all you have to do is register for Multi-Species Madness, and you can customize anything you want to put in the back. You can put OFC Nation on the back. You could put your own personalized logo at the back. You could even put your own picture on the back, and then your name will go on the arm. So early bird draw, to qualify, you have to register by Friday. So this Friday, just go to anglersatlas.com/tournaments. So CFN apparel, Italo apparel, all related to the Canadian Fishing Network. We'll see you tomorrow at 7 to give some of this stuff out.
Right on, Mike. Thanks so much for joining us, dude. As always, keep up the great work, dude. Peace.
Thanks, everyone. Good night.
All right. And that, again, is tomorrow, Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Make sure you tune in and find out if you win. And in the meantime, of course, we have the Jan Lake Lodge CFN Western Retreat going on. There are other retreats that are going to be upcoming, and I have to talk to the owners, Warren and Doris, and of course Tracy and Andre. I was going to play the video, but based on what I'm seeing when it comes to the internet tonight, I am not going to bother. So I will simply say, if you want to join this group, hopefully most of this group will be joining us up at Horwood Lake Lodge for our 4th annual CFN retreat. Please reach out to Doris and Warren at horwoodlakelodge.ca or phone them and make sure you reserve your bed, and hopefully we see you there. Of course, Camp McIntosh is going to be in September, and the details with that are as follows. It's a 3-day, 2-night event, $380. It's $190 an extra night. And, I was talking to somebody to book a hotel downtown Toronto. You couldn't get one night for what it would cost for those 3 days plus an extra night. So think about it. As I said, it comes with a cab, comes with meals and a boat and a heck of a good time. Big box of good times. So we'd love to see you there. That is September 23rd and 25th. And, of course, our CFN 4th annual retreat is August 14th to the 21st. So reach out to both Horwood Lake Lodge and Camp McIntosh, and we'd love to see you there. Simple as that. And, of course, great news, fantastic news for the Tony Sizanowskis and anybody else in the world in CFN land that is looking for that CFN swag, that CFN pack. By all means, reach out to our good friend Babs at Fish Whipped Apparel and put your order in today. Merchandise is available. It is stored, and it is ready to be shipped. So all you have to do is call Babs and get it done. That is it for me for announcements. I am going to turn it over to the pros, the gurus, the go-tos, the legends, and our beloved friends, Lawrence, Jim, and of course, Jason Barnucz. Jim's up next right after this word from our sponsor. Big Jim McLaughlin, who is probably out cold, asleep, wishing that he was anywhere but here. No, I'm just kidding. You know what, Jim?
Oh God.
I know how busy you are, dude. And the fact that you're able to join us like you are every Monday, doing what you're doing, with everything that's going on in your life, but it means the world, man. Thanks so much.
It's awesome, guys. I enjoy it. Believe it. Wow, what a busy day today at the compound.
Oh yeah.
We had 7 people here today doing stuff like working,
Wow.
like digging up flower beds, replanting everything, painting outside, just a myriad of things. I had a young lad here, a buddy of mine there. He worked all day down the flower beds, and he cut all the grass down by the waterfront. So you look out, you don't look at grass now. So it just makes the house look nicer because the grass at the waterfront, there's a little edge that goes around, you know.
Yeah.
And he trimmed it all out there. The kid, just 15. What a slugger! Never stopped all day. Had to tell him to go eat his lunch. So
It's how, you know, and that's what's so amazing. Like not to get off too far off fishing topics, but it's true, dude. Like I mean, and at the end of the day, and I'm sure you were just like myself. We had some older gents that were pouring concrete next door to our neighbors, and these old guys, the one is 70, the other one's 63, I think, working like dogs, setting up forms, taking them apart, the whole 9 yards. And all I could do, feed them water, go grab them coffee, a little bit of grappa, and I'm only, as I said, they're doing us a favor too in a roundabout way. But I'd like to reward those who work hard, and I know you're no different.
You know, it's really something. For the other day, Tammy and I went. I think it was Saturday night. We went down to Gananoque and grabbed the tea at Tim Hortons there.
Yeah.
And just went for a little ride. Went down by the waterfront and watched all the drunks and everything. Had Rib Fest. It was cool. And there's nothing better than watching a guy that's had like 15 beers eat ribs. It's there's like sauce from one end of them to the other. I never did anything like that.
No.
It's absolutely amazing. It's really, really funny to see them like that though. But it was a good day. But I said to her when we were coming home, it's for the first time ever in my life, I actually envisioned myself sitting in a chair with like a grape soda or something, with my feet up, and just go. But I can't stop.
You've earned it, dude. You've earned it. Yeah, I know.
I can't stop. Could you imagine me trying to stop?
No, I absolutely. And you know, at the end of the day, I think part of it is, as these gents shared with me yesterday when I was talking to them, he said, "Scott, go home for what? For what?" So I go home, I stop, move, I die. No, I got to keep going. I got to keep moving. And as they say, the old wives' tale is a rolling rock it manages to carry moss. And these two chaps, as I said, I'm amazed at the work.
Well, I tell you, I know several tough old Italian guys, boy.
Yeah.
They're in their 70s and they still go to work every day. And they don't need it. You know, they're those guys that live in $2 million houses. And they come in the door and they take their boots covered in cement off at the front door.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of guy. And they came here and then they busted their ass. And it paid off for them. And they can't stop. It's what it is. So, like I say, I'm coming up to 70, but I got no plans. I got no plans to go anywhere, really.
Now, have you managed to get that boat in the water, do any kind of...
No, it's still sitting there.
Yeah.
It's just been so much. And, with this bit now, since I got this bright idea to sell the house, and we have to, we really do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tammy's already in bed.
Mm-hmm.
She's gone. She'll sleep for 15 hours now. Right?
Wow.
She's had some grief in the last few days. Like, really, really not happy. So.
Wow.
But I left a rude note at my doctor's office, and they say that they don't answer the calls.
Mm-hmm.
No calls will be, don't leave a message because we don't listen to these calls.
Mm-hmm.
When you call. So I left one. I got a call this morning from my doctor at 8:30.
Wow.
Yeah. So they're going to talk to me on Wednesday at 3:50.
Okay. Well,
she's going to have somebody from physiatry with her, and see what.
It's good news. We're all praying for you and Tammy for some really.
Yeah, and she has an appointment on 26th at 8:15 a.m. now. Another one here. They're going to do another MRI right in the area where she's experiencing the pain. So
Yeah. Wow.
the other doctor, the guy that's the head of brain neurosurgery at the Civic, he thinks it's radiating pain. It's coming from somewhere else. It's I guess it's common. I don't know anything about it, but he's not the head of the Civic Hospitals.
For no reason. No.
Yeah, so it's what it is. Yeah, I got some stuff in the mail this week. It was really cool. There's this guy on Facebook that I see all the time. He's on Instagram.
Okay.
And he started making jigs.
Yeah.
So he just makes jigs for something fun to do. So I saw he had some little jigs that are like a rainbow trout finish, and I thought, man, they just resemble about every panfish that a bass could want to eat.
Right.
And I looked at it, and I sent him a note, and I said, hey, why don't you make me half a dozen of those? How much are they? He said, oh, Big Jim, I'll send them to you. And I said, no, I don't send them because I won't accept them. I said, I got to pay you for them, so I paid him for them and whatever. And I got one, and I put a little rhythm wave on the back. And is that got to be like the sweetest looking little jig?
Oh, yeah.
I know you can't see the colors on it.
But it's
maybe you can there a bit, eh?
Yeah, it's like a condensant color, right?
It's like rainbow trout.
Oh, wow.
It's got hues of purple and pink and chartreuse and everything in it. It's got that nice head at the front. Got the clear weed guard.
And this Pig Jigs this came from Pig Jigs?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. He works on he's an engineer on a boat, I believe, on the Mississippi River.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he spends a lot of time, as he says, not at sea, but at river.
Wow.
But it's really, really cool. But I just thought to myself, if you're going to chuck something that looks like a sunfish, this is the deal. So it's pretty good. Now we got the new copy is uploaded too. It's all done. I see Steve just posted it there. How are you, Steve?
Yeah, baby. And if something miraculous happened that you shared with me this past week in regards to it showing up on a platform that perhaps maybe hadn't been there before.
Oh, I was absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I saw on Facebook Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's took the cover of Just Fishing and took a sponsored ad for it. And nobody contacted me or anything, you know what I mean? I guess I don't care, you know what I mean? I think it's great. It's just more exposure for me.
100%.
But I just was blown away, and that would just tell me that maybe they have people coming in saying, hey, I saw this in Just Fishing or whatever, looking for stuff.
Well, Jim, if we had any hand in it, buddy, it is our honor. And you know what? At the end of the day, I wish you nothing but the best of luck with that magazine. It is, I mean, if folks haven't read it, just go grab the one now. This is
a really good issue
with all kinds of incredible information. In fact, we could do a whole year's worth of shows just on the information that's in that magazine. I did
a thing the other night. I had a thing for a radio station in Minnesota. They called me and we went on and talked to them about, and it was really funny because I got off a little bit on my rant about, fishing season's here, opening day. What did you do? You threw all the same shit that you had last year in the boat. You drove to the same spot where you caught nothing. You caught nothing, and you came home cursing. And that you have to change that kind of stuff. And people say to me, "How come when I see your fishing room, you've got like 200, like plain old boxes full of all different stuff?" I said, "Because every year there's new stuff I try, just like this.
Yeah.
There's different stuff. You can't just." I know up north when you fish for walleyes, okay, jigging a minnow or jigging a worm, I get that. You know what I mean? That it really works. Or you could use a Tokyo rig. You should get yourself a couple of those. But
I do believe they're on the front cover.
I had a guy call me the other night too, and he says, "Is this Big Jim?" And I said, "Who's this?" And he says to me, I forget the guy's name. I don't know him. And he says, "Oh, it's Scotty Martin." And I said, "Hey, Scotty, what's going on?" And he says, "Well, I just wanted to let you know, you spent some time with me at the Toronto Sportsman Show at one of your seminars this year, and you were talking about that Tokyo rig. And then he gets me on Facebook and he sends me pictures. He's got a plain old box. He's got to have 30 in a minute.
Is that right?
All different weights on them, so he's ready to go. He says, so I don't even have to change the weights.
Wow.
I had piles of weights kicking around that the paint are off, Texas rig sinkers, cone sinkers, the paint's come off. I don't like them anymore, or whatever, He had some old lead ones. He's got them all done. He's got the finesse ones. He's fishing live bait on them.
Wow.
He's doing with the finesse one for walleyes,
Yeah.
He's fishing live bait on that finer hook and all this stuff and everything else. He said, I just want to let you know that every year I get something really good from you. And I ended up talking to the guy for like a half an hour.
Cool.
Yeah, and it's just, things like that are cool when you take the time to put together a presentation and you bring it to the show and you do it and then you get that. And that's, another thing that's really, really cool is when you go to the shows and you have a guy come up and he takes out his wallet and he pulls out a 2-pound pike, a picture of a 2-pound pike, and he's got the grip on it, one of these, he's holding it up, eh? We know a guy. He's holding it up like that. And he says, and that guy looks at you and says, hey, here's the pike I caught last year. And the guy's beaming from ear to ear to show you his fish.
Yep.
Is it a 10-pound pike? No. Did he win a tournament? No. Who gives a damn? The guy went out on his own. He rigged his own line. He went out, he cast, he figured out where to go, and he caught that pike, and he's so happy of it. And really, that's, you need to have more of that put back into fishing.
I totally agree, Jim. And talking to some people, and it's a topic, and just to wrap up your story, I'm glad there was at least one Scotty that listened to your Tokyo rig stories. But in regards to
that's epic.
That is epic. Just in general, folks are really they've been coming to me in great numbers, and they've all said, like, Scotty, what is it? What's going on? Like people have just sort of forgotten how to treat one another. I guess the 2 years we were locked up or unable to do what we do, which is build community, spend some time with people, and yada, yada, yada. We can go on and on and on about it, but there has been a real disconnect with when it comes to respecting others. And hopefully we can get back on that track, and stories like that.
I look at it and I tell people, I say, so all the fish I caught, all the tournaments I won, all the money I caught and everything. What do I do now? I sit in a chair out the back with a rod and I'm happy.
Absolutely.
And that's really what you don't have to. Erica said it there. Fishing is happiness.
Yeah.
It's just so. Did you see I was thinking of this when I mentioned being down the back. Did you see the little video I did where you can hear the DC reel?
Yes.
I did, and you can hear it. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I did that and I cast it out and I'm talking about it, and I'm showing it and everything, and then I don't drop the camera in the lake. I purposely sit about 8 feet back, so there's lots of room. If I drop it, it's not going to fall. Whatever. I turn the camera off, and everything all's good. As I do that, I go to engage the reel, and the line just takes off. Something picked the jig off the bottom.
Beautiful.
Like 30 seconds after it was sitting there, and took off with it, and I saw the line go out, and I don't know what I did, but I didn't engage the reel. I didn't turn the handle far enough or whatever, and I tried to set the hook on it, and I got the worst backlash you could ever see. I had to get the knife out. Because it's like when the spool's open and you heave hallway. It was all in one motion. I was turning the handle and pulling, and I got to the pulling part just a split second too soon. It was so funny, and I didn't get the fish either.
I doubt it was worse than the backlash that we shared together back a few years ago. But regardless of that, I imagine it was pretty bad.
Yeah, that one was just.
Yeah.
You didn't even really get to hear the Hellcat sound.
Yes, Tony, I can see your comments, and that is a great advice for anyone who is unable to post comments. I know Steve Shaw was saying that some people aren't able to be interactive with the chat. I'm not sure how Eric is doing it, Steve's doing it, but you are, and thanks for that. You can go to YouTube and post the comments there as well. So if there are questions that you may have, comments you want to make, by all means, go to YouTube, and we're playing there as well. But interesting enough, Jim, Erica shared a comment in regards to some of the weird things that you've caught in fish on. She caught a fish recently that just had a leaf on the hook. You know, we go to the great extent of making sure that we have great presentation, great profile, that it's properly hooked up on your hook. I had one this past week. Took a young lad from Estonia, and I'm reeling in what was a drop shot. It had nothing on it, but a little piece of seaweed or weed. I think it was probably some kind of I don't know. Anyway, it was on the hook. Pulled it in. That was all that was there, and caught a fish. There's no explanation, but I'm sure you've had situations like that as well, where you've hooked into something and you literally had nothing on your hook.
I caught this one last week. I posted that on something they had for weird catches. I don't even know the page. I got a half a dozen notes from people saying,
that's priceless. Right on.
Best thing I ever caught, I think. There wasn't a fish on film. I hooked a piece of plywood in the Ottawa River in heavy current. Piece of plywood about probably a corner. Like if it looks like you were putting on a roof and you had to cut a corner off the plywood, you know. And I hooked the corner. The jig was stuck in a knot hole. You know those brown knot holes?
Yeah.
It was stuck in the middle, and somehow that jig hook got into that, and the plywood lifted off the bottom because it was all goopy on the bottom and everything. When we eventually got it up to the boat, and it got into the current, so it's almost acting like a planer board under the water. I'm pulling it, and it would come up in the current, and the water's hitting it and taking it back and forth.
Man.
And we're standing at the back of the boat. I was with Bill Safe, who used to do Rod and Reel, his show. Yeah. I was on there, right? And I said to him, I don't know if it's a fish. It has to be. It must. And I thought it might be a piece of fishing line, because pieces of fishing line sometimes in current do funky things when you hook one and whatever, and it's back and forth. And then all of a sudden now it circles the boat real fast. It got in the current somehow, and it just around the boat to the other side. And Bill Safe there, he says, it has to be a fish. It has to be a fish. And we get it up to the top, and it's a piece of freaking plywood. That's the only time in my life I think I've genuinely really been tricked. And we weren't sure. Like we were passing the rod back and forth. Does that feel like a fish to you? And then they started. Wink, who was the cameraman at the time, says, you hear his voice on the film. I think it's a seal. like everybody was offering up. Or for Lawrence, it was a narwhal.
Or a big halibut. Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Oh my God, it was so funny. And this big ugly sheet of plywood came up. But.
Wow. Well, as I said, it was coontail that I was looking for. A coontail weed that I had. It was just the smallest little bit, but man, I tell you, there are some weird things going on out there. I know folks are having a little bit of trouble finding active fish. I don't know if that's water temperatures, if it's just the weather, what's going on, but I know folks are having a little bit of difficulty, at least the ones I've spoken to.
Well, numbers. You're getting closer to summer now, the middle of the summer. It's coming.
Yeah.
And traditionally, they don't call it the dog days of summer for nothing. It does slow down. But I mean, the elite guys from Bassmaster are over in Clayton, New York right now for the St. Lawrence and Lake Ontario. And I mean, these guys are going to crush them.
Amen.
These guys are going to crush them. It's going to be devastating. I mean, the ability that these guys have, it's just scary. On Saturday afternoon, I met up with Gussie for a while.
Nice.
Just met up with him before he crossed over the border here at the Thousand Islands Bridge.
Yeah.
And we had a chat. I eventually got to meet his wife. She's just a little firecracker. She's about this tall.
Nice.
She's really small, but she's just so pleasant. And of course, Gussie's a gem. He's what he is. Eh?
Amen.
That's
Now, I noticed that you were posting, and it was awesome to see Cooper Gallant in the #1 spot at the beginning of the weekend. Please tell us that's how he ended up.
No, he ended up third.
Oh,
but it's wondrous the points that he got out of it. Plus, he had a third place finish. I don't know how much it is. It's I'm sure it's double numbers. So it's a payday.
Good for him.
And then he blew right home, and went and got Danny, and they went and fished on Rice Lake and came fourth. Just missed. They didn't have a big fish, or they would have won.
Holy smokes!
Those boys know how to fish. Like you've heard my stories about them here and all the places. Taking them fishing, letting them stay at the house, and all that stuff and everything when they were starting off. And man, oh man, there's so many of the ones that have ended up being really, really big in the business. They started off sleeping in the back of pickup trucks and at their friends' houses and stuff like that. It's the way it works, you know. And a lot of these people are still sleeping in tents.
Yeah.
Like they don't have the money. They don't have these giant sponsors, and very few of them really do. You'd be surprised if you looked at it. Like, I'm absolutely blessed to sit where I sit with Shimano.
Yeah,
absolutely blessed.
As we all are, and very appreciative of how generous that company
Almost
is.
40 years.
Unbelievable, buddy. We've got a long way to go to get close to 40 years, but we will try. Jim, it's been a half an hour. I know I promised to get you out of here at a half decent time, but I do want you to mention you did have a special guest come over, Bruce Tufts, and visit with you. Did we set up a date that we could?
No, I sent him a couple of possibilities there.
Okay.
For Thursday evening campfire, because you don't want to do it on Friday at this time of the year because
no, absolutely, buddy.
So he just started his sabbatical like three days before he was here.
Right on.
I thought he was off on it already, but he wasn't. It was the end of classes for him. So everything's all cleaned up now. He's on a sabbatical for a year, so we'll definitely get him on. And I'll tell you, it's really cool once again to hear him talk more about that when he was here the other day again.
100%.
Cool.
As always, my friend, thanks so much for joining us, spending some time with us and sharing some wicked stories. It just wouldn't be the same without you, and we look forward to you each and every Monday. Thanks so much for doing this, and hopefully we get some good news this weekend. You and Tammy get some rest.
I need it, buddy. I'm headed down to the lake here, and I'll be down there for about probably half an hour, and I'll either come up smiling or I'll come up smiling. So it's all good.
Right on, buddy. You take care of yourself.
Everybody be good out there.
Peace. As always, a gem. So lucky to have him. And tell you, man, with everything that's going on in his life, he puts on a smile every chance he gets. And it is infectious. Trust me, it is infectious. You ever have a bad day, Jim will cheer you up. Guaranteed. Lawrence Gunther's up next. But before that, a word from our sponsor.
When it comes to Canadian food, we've got your back with flavors like lemon pepper, beer batter, campfire barbecue, lemon pepper dill, garlic butter and chives, and crispy Cajun. We've got a mix for every meal. Whether you're serving East Coast shrimp, West Coast salmon, succulent walleye, chicken wings, or veggies, we've got you covered. Coat your food in outdoor flavors. Available online or at these fine retailers.
There he is, Lawrence Gunther. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, buddy.
Fantastic. You look in the part, buddy, all dapper. You look good, man. I'm telling you. All ready to go. Now, you had some exciting times this past week. I believe you were out fishing for salmon out on Lake Ontario. Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm sure there's a lot that you discussed with your charter captain.
It's an old friend. We've been doing this for 14 years. I met him at a sportsman show, of course, right? Came up to my booth. We started talking, him and his wife, and he invited me over to his place. I spent the night there, and then three of us went out fishing the next morning. He does overflow, for the charter boats when they have double bookings or too many people. He takes their overflow, and he's helped a bunch of people get into the business, to the charter salmon fishing business. And so I wanted to reconnect with him because I know this is their last year doing charters on Lake Ontario. Mm-hmm. They're going to sell the package, and we can talk more about that later and what that includes in case someone's interested. And they're moving back to Sturgeon Falls, their original port of call. And but my reason for wanting to record our time on the water was it's all part of this information gathering exercise we're on as part of this idea of creating a national marine protection area in the eastern basin of Lake Ontario. So if you're going to create a protection area, why? And who's going to benefit? And we need to really make sure we're documenting the people that could benefit or lose if it's not done properly. So that was my big goal in getting out with them that morning. But, just great to reconnect with some good old friends too.
That's interesting. So after how many years have they been doing this?
He started in the mid 80s. His wife worked in the banking industry. She retired 5 years ago and became his full-time boat operator. So he could just focus at the back of the boat, and she documents everything, every catch, time, weather conditions, water temperature, depth, lure, size of fish. She's got a log book there. She watches the sonar. She watches all the other boats, and that's not easy. I tell you, like at any point you could look around. I think I asked the guys to count them up, and they counted 32 other charter boats around us with an easy, a 5 kilometer radius of where we were.
Wow. Well, and interesting too, because I'd be fascinated to hear his take on how he has seen the industry evolve, what it has turned into, and now that he's getting out of it, the likelihood of somebody purchasing all of his gear, his boat, and basically picking up where he's laying off. One thing I will say, though, we talked about just before we went to air, is it seems as if the used boat market has started to dry up a little bit. Not dry up in the sense that there's not enough of them, but, with interest rates just gone up, and, of course, fuel prices that continue to not come down. They came down a little bit with the announcements from the feds and provincial governments, but they're still up there. So with that in mind, I would like to maybe suggest that they're about 2 months too late to when that market was on fire, where literally every boat was selling, didn't matter what kind of shape it was in. And now, someone's pressed the brake very hard, and it's not like that anymore. So talk a little bit about that, because I'm sure he has some concerns as well.
Yeah, it's turning into a buyer's market, right? Like 2020, 2021 were sellers markets. They were getting marine, the manufacturer suggested retail price, and in some cases even more, right? When they start adding on all these weird sort of, charges and just making up numbers to ratchet up over MSRP. Same with the RV sector, right? Trailers, fifth wheels, pop-ups, motorhomes. That stuff was all on fire. They couldn't build them fast enough. Yeah. Well, if you go by the RV dealers now, and their lots are full. Right, and manufacturers are starting to cut back on production. The values of their stock on the stock market of RV dealers and boat manufacturers are coming down a bit because retailers have a full yards again. So I think too, what you're seeing is it's becoming a buyer's market. But in the last year or two, a lot of people have traded up into nicer boats. They're thinking, well, I've had this boat for a while, and if I'm going to keep doing this, I guess, if this is going to be what I'm going to keep doing because of COVID, maybe I'll get a nicer boat. So those boats have come in now. So those used boats are brought in and they're put on the market. So you're seeing a lot of that at the dealers, and people just selling their boats online. I think there's a few people that bought into it and are getting out of it, but we don't have data on that yet. We know from fishing license sales from 2020 to 21, in 2020, it went up 21%, and then it came down 6%. So it's still a net increase of 15% over 2019 in terms of total fishing license sales. So, is it going to be a crash and burn? I don't know. Hey, economists don't predict crap like that. They just know you can't. But, from everything I'm hearing, I think the boat market it's leveling off. The RV market's leveling off. It's not so lopsided in favor of the sellers. And you've got choice again. You've got choice, and you can go out there and make deals. So, are the prices going to come down to below where they were in 2019? That might be a big stretch. But are they going to keep going up like 10, 15% a year like they have been over the last 2 years? Probably not.
No, and there's a lot of probably nots that are going to happen. And as I said, if you ever drive by an RV dealer, you'd be amazed at how many are on the lot. It's incredible how little are selling, or how few are selling, and a lot of people want them. Like RV, it seems to be a growing interest now that everybody wants to buy an RV. travel
Boomers,
RV.
yep.
And I get
Boomers,
it. I understand.
boomers are retired. They want them, they want to. Yeah, if you can't fly around and visit all these places because of COVID, you can get in your RV and you got your own everything with you. So it's a pretty safe way to get out there, right?
We could talk about the commercial air industry at great length, but I'm not going to waste any time here. But you're 100% right.
No.
I would rather be looking at whatever it is that I brought or not looking for it. And when it comes to an RV, you're able to carry a huge carry-on in one of those. Flying right now, is not the way to go. Interesting. Well, with your charter captain, I'm sure you talked about it too, just in the industry side of things. Has it been harder recently to book charters and be able to make a living doing that? Or how does he view the current state of the charter and guide industry?
People are looking for experiences more and more. They want to have those experiences. And one of those experiences is going out on Lake Ontario and catching salmon and rainbow trout. It's more popular than ever. No one's getting out of the industry. I mean, there's a lot of captains that have been in it for years and they're into their 80s and they're still out there every day, right? And these are full timers, that book 7 days a week during the fishing season, so that is still happening. Absolutely still happening. There's no slowdown at all on Lake Ontario with respect to charters. What you saw a little bit of slowdown in the last 15 years is the amount of salmon you can expect to catch on a day. So look, Pacific salmon, like the cohos and the Chinooks, they were introduced in the late 60s, early 70s to deal with the invasive alewife. There was way too many of them. They were all dying on the beaches. No one can go on a beach that were just full of rotten minnows. So they said, well, bring these Pacific salmon, they'll gobble them up. These Chinooks and cohos are eating machines, right? You go from 0 to 25, 30 pounds in 5 years. That's astonishing amount of food to eat for these fish. So what's happened is the alewife population has been knocked back. The salmon population has adjusted accordingly. And, look, and Jason can get into this more. He knows this. This is his bread and butter. But they monitor those alewife populations. They test. They understand what's going on. They're not just going to pump out a gazillion hatchery fish when there's not enough food out there for them to eat. So they ratchet back on the hatchery activity a little bit as well. And but there's still a lot of fish. We had 9 hits and we landed 7. We had 4 lines out. So that's not, some of these bigger charter boats will have 10, 12 lines out, but we had 4, including my favorite, the mooching rod, right? Mooching rod, it's like a giant fly reel. The drag is let go of the handle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of the innovations that has come from one of our partners, Pow Casting, is a dredge ball. Your typical cannonball that drops down, you have a clip on it that allows the line to release from the cannonball once the fish hits. But you come up with a new design, and it's something that we're hopefully going to be sharing very, very soon. But it's a dredge ball that actually drags through the bottom. And anybody that has fished salmon they know this, that every once in a while when that cannonball hits the bottom, it just stirs up all kinds of sediment and it gets the fish going. So this dredge ball is coming out from Pow Casting's, and I believe it's available now. Captains and charter guides have been extremely excited to get their hands on this because this is a new innovation that is a little risky when it comes to, how your equipment's going to handle, something that you, like a piece of plywood, as Jim mentioned earlier, you hook into something like that, what that's going to do to your downrigging rig. But needless to say, this new application and presentation is really, really cool. So I'm looking forward to being able to share some of that in the near future. What's going on in Bluefish Canada, Bluefish Radio News?
We took a little pause. Some of our volunteers are heading out on the water this past week and next. So the Bluefish News took a little pause, but we did release a Bluefish Radio episode today, a podcast. and it's with the campaign manager for Watershed Watch Salmon Society. It's all about the Alaskan interception salmon fishery. This is the southern part of Alaska where there's no big rivers that salmon return to, but the salmon pass by there. So they head up the coast and they head out into the North Atlantic. And, you know, when they're 5 years old, they come back, hit the North American coast and head south. Well, they hit the coast, it's Alaska, and then they head south. And, you know, these are BC fish. These are Washington State fish. These are Oregon fish. These are a lot of salmon. And there's a treaty in place, the Pacific Salmon Treaty, that was done in 1997 to share up who gets to catch how many of these fish, because you can't say these are the ones from the Fraser and these are the ones from the Skeena and these are the ones that go to Washington. You have no idea. They're all just clumped up. So you have to sort of allocate the fish. Well, Alaska, for somehow they've been doing the math differently, and they are now capturing like 92% of BC salmon. It's bananas. You know,
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, and it's doing so well. They've increased their quota for 2022 by 30%. They've had such amazing catches that they figure there's a lot out there, and they're doing this, and we're turning off our fisheries. Right, we're closing our fisheries on the West Coast because we don't have salmon. There's no salmon coming back. Well,
So-
there is, but not in any great numbers. Not the Chinooks and the cohos, the ones that the people pay a lot of money to catch.
Now, Lawrence, would you attribute that to the water temperatures of some of our major rivers out there? Maybe the Pacific itself?
Yeah,
Like,
there's that.
because at the end of the day, it only seems like common sense that if they are going to Alaska like they are, there's a reason for it, and I would assume it's got a lot to do with water temperature and water clarity.
Well, they've always cruised, you know, they've always done this migration route when they go out to grow big and they go out to feed for, you know, 2 or 3 years in the ocean. This is where they go. So this is a sort of standard practice for them. But yeah, fish are moving north as rivers are warming and shrinking. You know, these salmon are very adaptable. So that's been not good for the more southern areas. You know, and then you have the open pen fish farms and their toxicity to fish fry when they come out, and you know, when the smolts come down the rivers and they get bounced on by sea lice, and it kills a little bass, kills a little fish. But so so there's issues for sure. But in this case, there's some huge salmon runs, and hey, make no mistake, some of the runs up in Alaska are getting bigger. And they say as the glaciers melt longer and faster every summer, and the seasons grow longer and the ocean grows warmer, the more you move north, these rivers that were before they were too cold, too inhospitable, not beneficial to salmon, large amounts of salmon, they are now. And so some of the salmon runs up there are getting bigger and bigger. So it's getting, not in every case, but it's happening. But in this case, it's just bad math based on inconclusive science that the Southern Alaskan commercial fisheries are using to take more than their fair share. You mix in there all the hatchery fish coming out of Russia and the hatchery fish coming out of Washington. It's just, anyways, look, I'm not a scientist. I can't, you know, if I could explain it in 5 minutes, I'd be in charge of the whole thing. But it's what it is. What it is they're grabbing the fish, and we know that. This Watershed Watch Salmon Society and Skeena Wild, these are two organizations that pay attention to salmon on these major rivers, the Skeena and the Fraser. They've hired top scientists to write a report, and the report is pretty conclusive. Now we just have to get the government to listen to this, and so far that hasn't happened.
It's interesting too. You know, we've talked about striped bass and the migration of the striped bass that it sounds like are going to be moving even further north. For Canadian anglers, we are going to be blessed with a great opportunity to target these fish in great numbers that we haven't before. I feel bad for our American counterparts who they'll still see it because there's going to be a huge migration, but yeah, they're saying that they're targeting more northerly rivers to spawn in, and that migration is going to move further north as water temperatures continue to warm in the North Atlantic current. So interesting stuff.
Nature will do what it has to do to survive, right? It's very much more adaptable and tough than we give it credit for. I think a lot of environmentalists have convinced us that it's very fragile and everything's on the verge of collapse and blah blah blah. So leave it alone, stay away, don't touch. But which is just a bunch of crap a lot of times. Nature will be standing a long time after we've blown each other apart. And nature is pretty robust and adaptable. So we just have to document it. We, and not just document, the problems, but document where the adaptation's taking place. And there's lots of amazing examples of that. Is it good for everybody? No. Is it good for my friends on Lake Ontario? They're selling their boat. By the way, if you want to pick up a 24-foot Crestliner with an inboard Merc engine and a kicker and a little cuddy cabin up front and a V berth and a little head and 17 fishing rods and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of spoons and dipsies and a couple downriggers. It's the whole kit and caboodle, $17,000. And it's your starting package, right? That's gets you going.
That is a good starter package, and that should not take long to go. One last question before we let you go. Steve is asking, as those salmon start to move to more northerly waters and more northerly watersheds, as you mentioned, is the food and the availability of food there, or is the food source moving as well with the salmon?
For sure, the food source is moving north, right? So if you look at the food source in the southern parts of British Columbia, that minnow has come from the south and it's pushed the traditional sort of food source north. And those minnows are less fatty, less sort of rich in oils. So the fish that are eating them don't get as fat and chunky and blubbery as they once were. Now they're eating sort of just meat and bones. Right? Yeah. Like that's what you have in the south, meat and bones. You don't need fat to stay warm. You're living in water that's 85, 90 degrees. Fat is a curse. Yeah. So you got to be lean and mean. So the minnows, the good chunky fat minnows that will get you through the winter, they're moving north too. So yeah, these things are all shifting, ratchet every year, right?
Well, lean and mean. Let's just say the salmon have a better hope than myself. That boat sailed a long time ago. Lawrence, as always, dude, thanks so much for joining us each and every Monday. Again, you come with a wealth of information, and we truly appreciate it, dude.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys. Thanks, Scotty. Keep up the great work, man.
Thanks, dude. All the best. And as always, just a plethora of information, a wealth of knowledge. And we are just downright lucky to have this gentleman. We're also very lucky to have this next gentleman as well, Jason Barnucz, who is going to be coming up right after this.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
Jason Barnucz in the house. How you doing, J-Dog?
Great, buddy. How are you doing?
Fantastic, my friend. Fantastic. What have you been busy doing lately?
Well, you know what? Actually, I sent you a couple of pictures. I don't know if you got your Facebook Messenger open. I know Facebook's not working too well tonight for some people.
No, it's interesting. I'm not sure what's going on, but I know the lag time even in some of the broadcasts, it's just been brutal.
I know. I was going to talk about something a little bit different tonight, but I can't get my Facebook Live to work. So I'm going to talk about what happened yesterday, which was really cool fishing experience. So yesterday, Scotty, it was a beautiful day yesterday, right? Bluebird skies, no wind, but down around this area, it's known as the annual Potahawk Piss Up. So what is the Potahawk Piss Up? Potahawk Piss Up. This is a real event. Hear me out.
I believe it.
So Long Point, 30 kilometers long, sticks out in Lake Erie. Halfway along it, there's a point off of Long Point called Potahawk Point. Potahawk Point and Turkey Point don't meet, but they kind of angle towards each other, and that gives you the inner bay and the outer bay. Well, Potahawk Point is a beautiful 3 or 4 kilometers of sand. And the perch fishing's real good off it right now in about 12 feet of water if you can find some weed. But that's not the attraction this past weekend. The second Sunday of July every year, there's 500, 600 boats anchored up at Pottahawk. Okay? So it's a party. It's a party. So I avoid Lake Erie on Pottahawk weekend every July because I have no interest in the boat ramps. The restaurants are just jammed with people. This is not a COVID thing. This is something I've avoided my entire life, to be honest. So
I can't say I blame you.
and even Trevor on the way home yesterday, because we were fishing, I'll talk about this in a sec. Even on the way home, Trevor's like, Dad, why would you just buy a really nice boat like that and just go anchor up on a sandbar and sit all day and not? How can you not fish? I go, buddy, you're preaching to the choir, man. So, and nothing against pleasure boaters. The OPP are out there patrolling during that event. Some years they have problems, but you know what? From what I heard, it was pretty tame yesterday, and everyone had a good time. So we went to Deer Creek Conservation Area. Deer Creek is I'm going to say it's a small reservoir. It's a reservoir I probably ice fish more than I open water fish. No motors. It's an electric only or kayak only lake, Scotty. But on a Sunday like yesterday, it was absolutely packed. So Trevor and I met up with his buddy Owen, and Trevor's got a buddy Reese, who we do a lot of river fishing with. Well, Reese has never been largemouth bass fishing before. So we took Reese out. There he is. That's Reese's new personal best largemouth bass. That's Reese Revi. You've seen some of the great brown trout pictures that we've put up the last couple of years. We've caught those on the Revi family farm right here in Norfolk.
Wow.
And so Reese went out with me yesterday, and he's a good little hockey player too, Scotty. So he picked up real quick on how to skip a stick bait under a tree.
Nice.
This reservoir is super clear water. You got to use kind of finesse presentations, and we decided to just. I actually usually fish it with a jig, but a jig's a tough bait to learn out of the gate. Reese is still learning how to use a bait caster, so I put him with a spinning rod, and we went down the shore, and I showed him where the shade line is. You got to skip that bait up under the tree, and you know what? He caught a bunch of little largemouth. He got that nice one there, and got some rock bass. So, dude, it was a real stellar day.
Well, look at the smile, man. That smile says it all right there.
Now, here's a kid who usually hesitates to hold fish. I'm not going to lie. He grabbed that fish out of my hand for that picture. He was so proud of himself. So that made our day. That made my day yesterday. But I want to talk about what we were using. I came across a really cool product recently that I want to share with you guys. So it's a product made. It's actually I'm not sponsored by them. So VMC, and this is their. See, it's a set of pliers. It's called their Wacky Nico tool. Okay, so some of you might have seen this before. I have not seen this until recently, so I tried this out. So you buy the tool, and you buy the little rings. Now we've all used the little O-rings, okay, but these little rings are a little bit different. Let me explain. So what you do is you put the ring on the tool.
Mm-hmm.
You take your favorite stick bait, and you just squeeze the tool. And you just work that stick bait right on there, and come here, pops off. Okay. Well, so there's the ring.
Yeah.
But what's cool about this, Scotty, is when you use a typical O-ring, you're hooking it parallel with the worm.
Exactly.
Right? So you can do that with this. There's a little knob on each ring. And you could hook it parallel if you want a Nico rig, but if you want a wacky rig, you can hook it perpendicular.
Brilliant.
And
Brilliant.
You buy the little rings, different colors, different sizes, and there's little containers built in here to hold your rings. Yeah.
Jeez.
Done.
Wow, that's brilliant.
So impressed with that little tool, and it works great. Like this is one of my favorite colors. That's it's called green pumpkin candy from Berkeley. And by the time Reese was done with that color, it didn't look that way anymore. He caught so many fish on it, but it just kept catching fish. That ring lasted for at least probably 15 or 20 fish yesterday. Unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we've all had it happen too when you use the little O-rings, and I still use them. But sometimes the hook, like after you catch a fish on it, the hook will get kind of twisted up on the O-ring. And you got to kind of figure out how to get it untwisted. I've actually lost fish because it gets twisted up on that O-ring. So this design, it's real slick design. I'm impressed. Now, I will say as pliers go, like they're a little flimsy. I would keep them somewhere kind of safe in your boat, like in a pocket or a bag, because they're just kind of just plasticky. So they're not like your needle nose pliers. You can just kind of toss them, let them roll around the boat. Definitely take care of them. But one heck of a great tool. Yeah.
Now I have to ask this question.
Okay.
How many walleye have you caught off a wacky rig?
How many walleye have I caught off a wacky rig? So there's only one lake in Ontario I've caught walleye on a wacky rig, and that's Balsam Lake.
Wow.
And the Balsam Lake walleyes are the walleyes over my lifetime that they do everything that a walleye does and a bass does at the same time. I've caught them there on wacky rigs, on poppers, on spooks. Like I've caught them there, and I'm sure it's not just Balsam Lake, but I fish a lot of lakes for a lot of different species, and I love fishing for smallmouth. And I know that walleye and smallmouth bass love to hang out in the same places. And if you happen to get out the day the walleye are actively on the feed, man, you'll catch smallmouth on one cast and walleye on the next. And so I've caught a number of walleye on a wacky rig in Balsam Lake. I don't know why that is, but that's true.
Interesting. Well, I've not too long ago memory with Cam Epstein, who runs Fish Ontario. He had said, at that point that he had never caught a walleye, and he said, "Scotty, I'm hoping you're going to be the guy to get them." And I said, "Well, I'll do my best." And I literally was using a wacky rig, and it was beautiful pink impact bait. Love that color. Still love that color. The broom handles. And I was tossing it in under a tree that had fallen, but there was a lot of current that was going by this tree. And I thought, I'm going to get something in there because it jutted out quite a bit from shoreline. I pulled second. I said, "Cam, throw it in there," because I have a feeling there's more than just the two of them. And sure as heck, doesn't he catch his first walleye? But they were all caught on wacky rigs. And I said, "I don't know if you know how rare this is. This does not happen very often. So not only did you catch your first epic walleye, but you caught it on a wacky rig, and you might not want to tell anybody that."
Well, and so here's another wacky rig story. This is a true story. So last weekend, we were up in Ottawa visiting Heather's family, and Scotty, had been 4 years since we've been there between minor sports and COVID, and usually we go up every year, so it's great to visit them. While we were there, we got a text message from Trevor's fishing buddy Owen, and his dad was trolling. Now, this is going to sound weird. He was trolling a wacky rig, but hear me out for a second. Owen's dad is not an avid angler. Owen's dad loves the outdoors, avid kayaker. Owen is a fanatical angler, avid kayak angler. So when Owen goes kayak fishing, dad just tags along with his kayak, throws a line out the back, kind of just drags it around while Owen fishes. Well, so Owen's dad, Craig, was dragging this wacky rig behind the boat real slow as he was moving just to where Owen was, and he got a 33-inch northern pike on a wacky rig.
Towing a wacky rig.
Trolling a wacky rig in 12 feet of water, got a 33-inch northern pike.
So we've heard Erica, who caught with just a leaf, she caught a fish. Yeah, I managed to catch a walleye with a little bit of coontail on the drop shot hook because there was nothing else there.
Yeah,
Jim hooked into some plywood. Now I would have really enjoyed being on that boat listening to that tale, where they're handing the rod off to one another, wondering is this a fish? Can you imagine that? I would have been crying laughing. And now you're saying that we can troll wacky rigs and hook monster pike.
Yeah. This information is only on CFN Live. So all you CFN insiders, you're getting all the goods tonight. This is all the good stuff.
Yes, so. I could just imagine there will be 4 of them that go out trolling a wacky rig this weekend. That only 4.
It's so
I can't
funny.
imagine anybody else will. That's an awesome story.
And I got another cool thing that happened yesterday too. So I sent you a second picture. Trevor caught a nice bass yesterday, and so this lake, this small reservoir that I'm talking about, Trevor's there, and his buddy Owen are in their kayaks now. They're all independent now, right? They don't need to fish with me anymore. But about 3 years ago, I went fishing with the two boys, and I took my flipping jig in Deer Creek down along the shoreline. And there's not a lot of big fish in Deer Creek. Like, you'll catch a lot of these 12, 13-inch largemouth, maybe even, I'll say 10 to 13 inches. But once in a while, you'll trip over a good one. And I've always caught better ones on a flipping jig. I don't catch as many, but the ones I catch are better. And those two boys, I have kicked their butts with a flipping jig so many times, and they've beaten me with numbers, but never with size. And yesterday, I'm watching these two, Trevor's 14, Owen's 15 now. I've been taking them fishing together since they were 6 and 7.
Wow.
And they could all fit in the John boat. Now they're too big to go in the John boat with me, right? And I watched those two boys yesterday flip jigs all day, skipping jigs under trees. And I'm like, my job is finished here. They know exactly what to do. And then I heard the hooting and hollering up the lake, and it's electric only. So that scene in Austin Powers, right? So Reese and we could hear Trevor hooting and holler. Reese like, we better go. So I have an electric motor on the front, a Minn Kota, and I have a Minn Kota on the back. So we fired both up, and we're just zooting down the lake. And Trevor had a 19-inch largemouth. That's his personal best from that lake, from that particular lake. That's his best one. And he caught it on a jig after his dad's bugging him to put down the wacky rig and fish a jig. And he got that one yesterday.
Good for you, Trevor.
He was proud of himself. Now, Owen's in an online kayak tournament, and he needs to get rid of a 15-incher. And Trevor and Owen were fishing side by side. That fish would have helped Owen. So I think the two boys are talking tonight about some redemption. Owen's a little grumpy with Trevor for catching that 19-incher. But anyways.
Good on them. Hey, listen, good on them for following the rules, because it would have been very easy for Trevor to enter that fish and give it to Owen. Owen netted his fish. And I saw Owen high-five him. And I knew Owen is trying to get rid of this 15-incher. You know how the online tournaments work with bass. Yeah. So he's got almost 90 inches for 5 fish, but he's got a 15-incher in his bag he wants to get rid of. That fish would have put him well over 90 inches, but Owen will go back and try again. Yeah, those two boys, they're as honest as they get, and it's just great. You know what? It's just so nice to go out there on a lake now and watch your son and his buddy just wander off, and they're completely self-sufficient. They tie their own knots. They get their own snags out. Like, it's just awesome. And then their own boats. It's like, what more can you ask for? We at that age, you just become an Uber. That's it. That's all we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once they get their license, they won't even talk to us anymore.
Yeah. Like, I've been working on upgrading our a little boat trailer to put 2 kayaks on, because I know the day's coming soon where they're just going to, here's the kayaks, here's the trailer. There you go, boys.
That's parenting done well, Jay. You received the Academy Award for Best Parent of the Year, because that is dude passing that kind of passion on to your kids is awesome. I know my kids love to fish, but they don't love it near as much as Trevor or near as much as I do. So they'll go with me. I know my older son, he mentioned about going back up to Horwood again next year. So stuff like that is cool when you're asked about it. But at the end of the day, it's just cool to be out in the water, and what better people to share that time with but family. So
and
awesome.
Scotty, I wanted to mention too. Earlier you mentioned that people are struggling to catch fish this time of year, right? Mm-hmm. And I think yesterday was a good example, to be honest. Like, I don't want to go fish the lake for 8 hours when I know the best fishing is the last 2 hours of the day.
Yeah.
And I find that more and more people I talk to are they are just out there too long. Does that sound weird? Like, I know it seems weird. You can't fish too long, but let's be real. Not everyone has a 12-hour day to go fishing. 100%. People they got to cut lawns, although my lawn has been brown for 2 weeks, but they got to cut grass. They got, honey-do lists, and things are going on. You don't have time to fish for 8-9 hours. You have a 4 or 5 hour span. You got to make the most of your time out there. So even yesterday, we didn't head out until 3 o'clock, and dude, it was so hot out there with no wind. I wish I didn't go until like 6 and then just got there for that evening bite. But it was good to be out there. But yeah, I think that sometimes I try and convince people, don't be in such a rush to go. Like, unless you can go first thing in the morning. So this time of year, when it's been steady warm weather and the water temperatures are getting up there, it pays to be out there at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. It really does. Your best chance of catching a good fish is in the morning or in the evening. But if you can't get out till 8 o'clock, if you have to fish from 8 till 2, that's what you got to do. You fish when you can fish. Don't take me wrong. I will go when I need to go. But I think that it's really important for people to look at, okay, you know what? I'm only going to really go for about 4 hours. What's my best time to go? So, and I think that's important right now this time of year. It's been steady hot weather. Water temperatures are up. And this isn't just bass fishing. This is kind of everything. I know that usually the winds are down a bit usually in the morning and the afternoon. When it comes to stream trout fishing, like, the water temperatures are getting so high, it's hard on the trout and the handling. So avoid that midday, get out in the morning, get out in the evening, take advantage of those key times, and you'll catch more fish. You'll catch better fish, and you won't be so tired. That's my lesson the last couple of weeks, is just get out when you can.
Yeah, 100%. And as you have mentioned, it's a lot easier for us to survive when it's cooler out, and it's the same for the fish. Now, I would love to be able to set up a poll. Have you caught more fish in the morning hours or in the evening hours?
So, you know what? For me, I'm not going to say more fish. I don't really keep track of numbers. I keep track of size. And I find I catch bigger fish in the morning. So morning and evening is best for numbers, period. But if I can actually drag my carcass down to the lake for 5 o'clock and the sun's just peeking over the horizon, that's my best time to catch good fish. I'm not saying you can't catch big fish during the day. I've caught lots of big fish at noon. But I think it's worthwhile hitting it early in the morning. But I think for a lot of us, you work all week, dang, that 4 a.m. alarm clock is kind of hard to swallow. It's more like a 6 a.m. or a 7 a.m. alarm clock, right, Scotty?
It's true. And at the end of the day, I've always said the fish will always be there. So, don't stress yourself that you have to be there at first light. I mean, for us, our salmon folk who like to troll for salmon, that's their most favorite time is when that sun's coming up. That's when they've got all the lines they could possibly put in the water. And then they do the same, throughout the course of the day, and it's nowhere near as productive as it is later on that evening. But yeah, a lot could be said when it comes to catching larger fish that are on the prowl that, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just you're flicking on the light, everybody's now blind, they can't see, and those big fish take advantage of it.
Actually, can you put that picture back up of Trevor with that bass? Because Erica brings up a great point that I wanted to mention too. So he's got his buff on now. He usually wears his buff. So Erica's mentioning about damaging your skin during those hours, which is a big point. So he wears that buff up over his hat, so it completely almost covers his entire face and neck. And then he's wearing his Skull. We're not sponsored by Skull, but that's his Skull shirt. Now he should be wearing long pants, because I wear almost all sun shirts and sun pants now. Like, I'm decked right out I buy the sun shirts with the hoodies.
Yeah.
At first, Scotty, I used to find them kind of hot, and once you've been in the sun all day, a good sun clothing really makes a difference. And I don't have to put all the sunscreen all over the place. Like, I get weird tan lines though, because like my hands get tanned.
Yeah.
Instead of the farmer tan, I get hand tan. And I get weird stripe patterns between my flip flops and my Keens. I get weird stripe patterns on my feet all the time. But honestly, to wear good sun clothing, and I'll give a shout out to Columbia. as well. They usually have good deals on their sun clothing. Skoll is a great Canadian company that we buy our stuff from too.
Fish Whipped, who we deal with.
Yeah, Fish Whipped Apparel. Like, there's so many great companies out there that you can get good sun clothing from. Make the investment. Make the investment in wearing good sun clothing. It is so important. Yeah, DSG. Yeah, that's right, Erica. DSG.
Yeah,
great sun gloves too. So, I think it's great, and you feel better at the end of the day. You're not as sun punched at the end of the day. Like, that's honestly how I feel.
Yeah, and as I said, with the temperatures the way they are going and the humidity levels that are starting to increase, it's not bad advice to at least try something that's out there, something that's different, something that you've never worn before, to see if it works for you. Because I've heard this a lot from guys our size, maybe more your size than mine, but that wear it. It is not the most flattering of clothing by any means.
It's not.
It does keep you cool. So
you're gonna find with the sun wear, go up a size. If you're a double X, find a triple X. Like, that's on it. It's like when you're buying tournament jerseys. Like, they call that athletic fit, that streamlined look. Well, I don't like the athletic fit. I'm a baggy shirt guy. So so I wear a double X shirt, like, typically. But if I'm going to buy sunwear, it's going to be a triple X size, because I don't like that tight fitting all the time. So, yeah.
100%.
There you go, Erica. She goes up a size too. Perfect.
Absolutely. And Erica's a little bit different than us, but for women that don't like to draw a lot of attention to themselves, they like to wear baggy clothing. I am no different. So yes, we totally get it, totally understand, but needless to say, it is something to try if you haven't already. And we've seen lots of posts and testimonials of some of our Bass Pro anglers down in the South that have had to go in recently and get melanoma taken off their skin. Even up here in Canada, some folks have had to have it removed as well. And it's not fun. It's not comfortable. It hurts like hell. And it is cancer. So it's something to consider.
Like, most of my job, I'm outside for 6 months of the year in some of the hottest weather, right? And sunniest weather. And I'm sure, and I'm very careful, but I'm sure at some point, just by the odds, I'll have to go in for some sort of, get something removed from my skin eventually. It's going to happen.
100%. So that brings us, of course, to our contest. It's nice to have you with us this week. Of course, this is what we shared. That is the picture of the fish. And thanks so much, Jay and Trevor and all of you at the Barnucz family for doing all these pictures for us. Beautiful picture. And, of course, you were to identify correctly what that fish is. It has many names, correct, Jay?
Well, so we'll start out with the proper name. So that is actually a northern sunfish. Northern sunfish. Now, in Ontario, they're found mainly in southwestern Ontario, actually, and they're found, I'll just say southern Ontario, because I've seen them in Georgian Bay and up around the Barnucz Peninsula, all the way down Lake Huron, and then around in some of the southwestern tributaries as well. They're a very small sunfish. Go back on that picture for a sec, Scotty. Yeah. So the distinguishing features here for everybody is it has a small mouth. On the opercle, it's got red all the way around, whereas pumpkin seed just has a little dot of red with white. So red all the way around. But the big one here is if you look at the pectoral fin, which is the fin below the opercle that runs parallel to that lateral line, it's short and round. And when you fold it over towards the eye, it doesn't touch the eye. Pumpkin seed and bluegill have long pectoral fins and pointed. Green sunfish and northern sunfish have short pectoral fins. The difference between a northern and a green mainly is mouth size. Greens have a big mouth like a rock bass. Northerns have a small one. So that's a northern sunfish, and that's actually a large male. That's probably, in the 80% size class. That one there is about 100 millimeters, or about 4 inches long. That's it. That's as big as they get.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we had a few guesses.
Yeah.
Of course, Christina said that it was a pumpkin seed. Tony said it was a pumpkin seed. Richard Dunlop also said it was a pumpkin seed. James Shembry mentioned that it was a green sunfish, and Lloyd Bront also said it was a sunfish. But the correct name is northern sunfish, and I want to congratulate the one person that got it right. Well done, Nick. You won.
Way to go, Nick.
Through Steve Shaw and his generosity. You have again won this week, and of course, you will be taking home one of these, which is the bait fuel. So we'll make sure that we send a second one out, or perhaps if you want to follow Steve's lead and give it to the runner-up, but unfortunately there is no runner-up. So you tell me, Nick. Either way, it is yours. Congratulations. Now we are on to our next FishID. The next Fish 2 ID for our contest, and I know a lot of folks have seen this. I'm hoping you all know the name of this, and I want you all to post it in the comments right now. There is a picture of it. Well known, I would say, for those who fish rivers. Perhaps maybe if you are a lake-only angler, you don't see a lot of these, but they are more in the rivers than in lakes. But anything else you want to add about that species of fish, Jay?
No, you know what? I looked at the results the last 2 weeks, and I thought, you know what? We're going to throw an easy one out there to see if we get some. We're going to make a big wheel for next week, hopefully.
Let's hope so. I know we've been having problems with the internet. Facebook has not exactly been very friendly for whatever reason. We had issues with copyright and a bunch of other things that didn't make any sense because we've been using the same stuff over and over and over again. So I'm not really sure what's going on. I have not heard back from Facebook on how to fix it, because I'm all about making it right. But at the end of the day, if you want to win, and this is a game changer if you are into scents. I know Bruce is going to be on here shortly to talk about it. But again, this is the picture of the fish. Please put it in the comments and let others know that there is a contest going on to FishID. And we'd love to see your guess. We'd love to see, as Jay said, as many names on the wheel as we can next week. And we're going to draw them up and see who wins.
It's awesome.
Right on, Jay. Well, listen, again, thanks so much. Is there anything you wanted to say before you leave?
No. You know what? I just need to get out fishing more. I don't fish enough, but we never do, right? So we'll see what this week holds. We'll get out at some point. Might have some big news by next week, but I'll let you guys know then. All right?
Right on, Jay. Thanks so much for joining us, dude. Really appreciate it. Take care. And that is a wrap for us for tonight. We have delved into a whole bunch of topics, talked a whole bunch of other news-related, fish-related goings on in our industry. Got perspective from Lawrence in regards to the state of our charter industry and our used boat market. But needless to say, thanks so much for all of you, each and every Monday, spending a little bit of time with our CFN community. Because as you see with what's going on at Jan Lake Lodge, it's a boat building community, and we'd love to see you out there again when the next one goes on. And again, big shout out to all who went, Walt for putting it on and organizing it, and of course Jan Lake Lodge for being so gracious as they have been to open the door to our community. It's what we do best, is build relationships and a foundation of good people. And if you want to do it, here in Ontario, by all means, in August we're going to be doing it up at Horwood Lake Lodge, and again in September at Camp McIntosh for our OFC Nation first annual retreat. Love to see all of you there. In the meantime, keep your lines wet, and hopefully you get nothing but screaming drags. Dave, I think it's time to take us away, dude. Do what you do best. All the best. Have a great week. Love you all.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it, but I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.